Molly set the timer. Casey, what do you need for us?
Can I kind of write?
Yes, you can write whatever you want. Do you want me to lift the screen or anything?
No, I mean, they're just, as long as everyone can see it, it's just like the basic guidelines. Are you sure?
I'm sure. What are the basic guidelines? And I'll write a little bit for you.
Oh, it's just if you want to write.
Okay. Okay. So you're going to give Casey your attention. Oh, the MATs are here as well. So MATs, hello. And there could be other people coming.
That's fine. Everyone is welcome to participate in this. So what we're going to do, it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors, but there's new rules. Instead of rock, paper, scissors, it's 8 Ninja Lady. So whoever beats whoever is up here. So
8 beats lady.
8 beats lady, lady beats ninja, and ninja beats 8. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, or yeah, just stick with 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to strike a pose. So like ninja, just like, yeah, or
wait, I want to see what the poses are.
You can do whatever, but as long as you know it's like ninja versus like ape, or just like a lady. So you guys, yeah.
I might have to be a sassy lady.
That's fine. So you guys are gonna, we're gonna start off, we're gonna pair up, and then you go against your partner, and whoever wins, the loser has to follow them around and chant their name. So if I'm playing against Jamie, and she is a ape, and I'm a lady, she beats me, because ape beats lady, and so I have to follow her and go, Jamie, 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 while she picks another person who has won, and goes against them. And so whoever wins gets the new group of followers, and you chant their name, Jamie, Jamie, until we're down.
This is the best game ever.
Yeah, until we're down to 2 people, and they each got their teams chanting with them. So
the hardest part of your job is making pairs, teacher.
what we're gonna do, we're gonna go around and go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then all the 1s are gonna line up facing this way. All the 2s find a 1 and face them.
Nice, good job.
Start here. 1, 2.
1, 2. Sorry. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2.
2.
Are you gonna play?
1, 2. Chris?
2.
1, 2.
1, 2.
Would you like to join?
Melissa, do you want to play? Okay.
So all the 1s go here.
I forgot what I was. Here and stuff. Okay, so what I
All the 1s face this way.
I got Molly's going to have your timer go off when we're finished.
Do you want me to hold it so you don't have to carry around all these poses?
What do we want? Duck?
Sure.
No.
All the 2s find a 1 and face them.
All the 2s find a 1?
And then you're gonna face them. So
What are you? Okay, I'll face you. And some people don't know people's names. So what is that?
I'm in the middle of it. Yeah.
All right, Chris needs someone.
Everyone reach across and find your partner. You got Does everyone have a partner?
So Chris and Susan are good.
Okay. So I'll start it off and go 8 Ninja Lady. When I say lady, you guys strike your pose and then determine who wins. Whoever.
I have a cheat sheet.
And it's behind the board. On the board.
So when you play this with your kids, when you play this with your students, you should have the signs everywhere. On your overhead, have multiple ones around the classroom so they know. So we'll say it again, 8 beats lady, lady beats ninja, ninja beats 8. Okay?
Okay? And then remember, whoever wins, the loser has to follow them and
Totally
cheer their name and cheer on. If it's a tie, you do it until one of you wins. Alright, make sense?
So are we going 1, 2, 3, go? Or 1, 2, what are you doing?
You can say 8 Ninja Lady shoot.
Okay, got it.
Ready? 8 Ninja Lady shoot.
learned names. What else?
Support.
It was incredibly supportive. We ended up, there were 2 winners that we should have kept going, and I just stopped it, so I did a quick executive decision because of what was going on today. So know that that might happen in your classroom. How else would this help your students' community?
It's kind of awkward.
But how did you manage the awkwardness, Joe? Keep talking.
I just pulled Ninja the first round and lost. Yeah, it's...
I was, of course, a lady.
Yeah.
Joe was my opponent, and I was, of course, a lady. Now, question 2, how would this get your kids ready for learning?
It kind of gets all their energy out, and then they can be like, oh, okay, now I can sit down and listen.
It was noisy. It was very energetic. Did you notice when I said, okay, I need your attention, it was the fastest you've ever gotten quiet. So I don't know if that's because we're on film or because, you know, we're in a
Wait, we're
different
on
film? Yes, ma'am.
You could do this in like history class with like war leaders that beat each other.
That's fantastic. So you could have like whole pot versus, yeah. So you could say who won that war, which would be very interesting because no one ever wins a war. So what a great conversation you could have about that with your students. How else could this apply to content? What else could you do? What other hierarchies are out there?
Science.
You could talk about inventions, and it could be by years. This was before a year. It could be chronological. Yes, ma'am.
You do kings, knights, and peasants.
Oh, that's fantastic. So in your social studies class, yes, ma'am.
Language arts could do like noun, verbs, and adjectives or something.
And decide who's the most important, like the noun beats the adjective.
Verb wins.
I would think
Driving
the adverb would beat the
literacy.
noun every time. Yes, ma'am.
Expanding on Molly's idea, you can do it in science. You can do it with like kingdoms and families, like what
Kingdom
like the
files.
size.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic. So you could be like the lizard, and you could say what the kingdom is. That's fantastic. That way you could even assess that. That's wonderful. Anything else? How would this kid get your kids ready for learning?
Be a great activity after lunch.
It would be a
They
great
come in
activity.
like, ah, and then like they can finish their ah, and then they can say
What could your rule be about volume? If you're teaching in a classroom like I taught, we didn't even have real walls between us. What could your volume rules be?
non-verbal.
You could do it non-verbally. That's fantastic. So you could just have you could whisper the names behind. You could whisper. Any other rules for if you need it to be less loud?
Tiptoe instead of people like stomping.
Following around, chanting. Yeah, awesome. Class, fantastic. Good job, Casey. That's something we do in the undergrad that we don't do in the MET. In our class of 9, we don't have no warm-up. Well, I would imagine that you guys are now ready for learning as well. So I'm going to introduce you again to Pat Hairston. And is it Angel?
Angel.
Okay, so this is Pat Hairston and her pal Angel. Can you go ahead and make sure your phones are on vibrate? Anything about photography that you have?
I have no objection.
Okay.
She, either side is good. She does not have a preference for which side you photograph her from. All I'm asking is when you photograph, make sure you Photoshop mine so I look like I'm nice and thin. So the girls aren't here, okay? And 20 years younger would be good too. But other than that, nothing. And you're going to cue my
You just
slides?
tell me when. Yeah. What do you want our code to be? Go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'll just say go to. Haven't I trained you? So I'm here today to kind of give you a combination of everything. I'm going to talk to you about our Canines for Therapy program, and in trying to do that, our Canines for Literacy program, as well as I'll be talking to you about our General Service Dog program and what our organization does. A little bit about me and a little bit about Angel to start. I started with the organization 11 years ago, I can't even remember that now, as a volunteer. I found the director at a Azalea Festival booth. Dogs and people in wheelchairs, all attracted me. So I started talking and saying, how can I get involved? I was married at the time. My husband at the time said, you are not fostering a service dog. You will never give it up. Okay, well, there's got to be more for me to do. My experience was in pharmaceutics. I ran a specimen and paper archive for 10 years, and I did project management for another number of years that I won't disclose. And I said, I can put those skills to work. So the director had just moved from running the program out of his home to running the program in an office. So I came in and I set up his office, and I moved it from a mom and pop filing system to a real corporate business filing system. As I got more involved, I learned that he didn't have anybody doing grant writing, so I started to research in my grants, and I got a grant approved to get myself hired part-time. Doesn't always happen that way. This is like the fairy tale story. And then came that September, I saw my very first person with a disability receive their service dog. And it changed my life forever. The bond that formed between that person and their dog in just 3 days was enormous. We put our clients up in a local hotel. They spend a week with us learning to work with their service dog that we select for them. And Edmund came in one night and he said, he was so excited. He's a very animated individual. He was so excited. He walked with bilateral crutches because he had MS. And he said, I had a great night. Okay, tell us about it. He said, I fell out of bed in the middle of the night. We're like, that's not so good. He goes, yeah, but it only took me 15 minutes to get up. And we're horrified. I mean, our clients have our cell phone numbers. They can call us when they're here. They can call us when they're back home. And we had to ask, what was so great about this 15 minutes? He said, normally it would take me 2 hours to get up, and I might have to wait for somebody to find me. His dog, Gideon, knew what to do and where to position himself, even though we hadn't taught Edmund how to use his dog to get up from a fall. It changed my life forever to know the power of the paw and see it in action. Move forward a few more years, we've now done 65 placements, and we'll talk more about that. In January 2009, I happened to marry the director of our organization.
That's hysterical.
That's a fairy tale. After having gone through not such a great relationship and divorce, but that's besides the point. We share a passion for what we do, and it's the best way for our organization to work. Half of the month he's in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm up here in Wilmington kind of running things up here. Angel's story is she's a rescue dog. About 90% of our service dogs in training are rescue dogs. They come out of local shelters. She came out of Broward County. She was trained in a military prison by a military prisoner to serve a veteran with a disability. All of our dogs come out of the prison program for 2 to 3 months before placement, and what we do is we put them with a handler so that we can go out and do all the things that people do in their lives, like go to Walmart, and go to movies, and go to dinner. Well, I happened to go to a conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And the conference happened to be a training program on how to become an instructor for our literacy program. She paced and panted for 7.5 hours. We came home, and
I didn't hear what you said.
she paced and panted in the car for 7.5 hours, like all the ways down. Like, oh my goodness, get me out of this car, I can't take it. I don't have post-traumatic stress. She was intended to go to a veteran. We came back, we called one of our clients and we said, we need you to come and talk to us. And we told him what she was doing, and I said, you need to come for a ride with me. We didn't have to go far. His post-traumatic stress was very bad at the time. And he said, don't put this dog with a veteran. They won't be able to do it. It'll just flip them off. So decision was made. Usually in that case we would release the dog. They're not placeable. They become a pet. They're adopted out. In our case we kept her as our program dog. So she's our public relations dog. She does a really good job of it. She lives with me and my husband. So anyhow, we'll demo her in a little while. So we're here to talk about our therapy program. So next please. So what is our therapy program? Our therapy program is really about bringing certified therapy teams into local facilities to make people feel good. It's a comfort thing. It's not about skills, it's not about tasks. It can be about tricks that the dogs can do, but it's really about the comfort thing. Next, please. Okay, I want to focus a minute on this. There is truly a difference. She's not going anywhere. There's a difference between a therapy dog and a service dog. A therapy dog is generally a person's pet. And it's been well trained, and it's trained to go with that person in a volunteer capacity into hospitals, nursing homes, schools, assisted living, group homes, wherever you might have somebody in need of a feel-good visitation. It does not have public access. A therapy dog has to be invited to come into a facility. When I'm done with my therapy visit with my dog, I must take my dog and go home. I'm not allowed to stop and go to the grocery store or go into a restaurant. As opposed to a service dog is trained to serve somebody with a physical disability and what we call mitigate that disability. So in some way, that dog serves that person to help their life be more independent. A service dog has legal access and can go anywhere that that person goes. Now, there's a few things that can be asked of a person if they're going into a facility with a dog. The first question is that your pet or is that your service dog? It can be asked either way. Person with a service dog will generally say, no, this is my service dog. Person with a pet may say, yes, it's my pet. Guess what? Thank you very much. Please take your dog and leave my business. You do not have access. If that doesn't quite satisfy it, the next thing that can be asked is, how does the dog serve you? I can't ask what the disability is. I can ask how the dog serves the person.
Okay.
I can't ask what your disability is.
Okay.
I can say, how does that dog serve you? That person has to be able to tell me at least 3 things that dog does to assist them, such as the dog will retrieve my medication, the dog will open a door for me, the dog retrieves my dropped items. Some of it's pretty obvious. If a dog is harnessed and the person is using it for balance, it's fairly obvious. But let me tell you, it's not always. So really that's kind of sums up a quick difference between a service dog and a therapy dog. Organizations that train service dogs are allowed to have what's called a program dog, and it can go everywhere with the same rights as a service dog because it's there for training, not just the training of the dog, but the training of the public as well.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So what if I had PTSD? How would I answer that question? Or how might I answer that question?
You might answer that question that says, the dog is here to create a space between me and the general public.
Okay.
The dog is here to make sure I feel safe when I'm standing at the counter at Walmart paying for my groceries. Okay? The dog is here to relieve my anxiety if I'm having an anxiety attack. The last thing they should be saying is, the dog makes me feel better. How many of you have pets at home? When you go home, does your pet make you feel better? I don't care if it's a snake, a bird, a rabbit, a mouse. I don't care what a hamster. Does it make you feel better? Mm-hmm. Emotional support does not qualify as a service dog. Doesn't. Under the Americans with Disability Act, it's not a service dog. So they have to perform a task for that person's disability. And the person has to have a disability. If you were to tell me the dog protects me, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to leave.
Wow.
Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, a service dog is not trained for protection. So
That makes sense.
it does. It does. If I have a seizure disorder and I'm having an issue and I'm in a seizure and my service dog is laying next to me and emergency support personnel comes over, the last thing you want is that dog to get aggressive to the emergency support personnel.
Got it.
So that's why they're
We're
not
so glad
trained.
you're here.
Thank you. Okay, so what's the difference between what's animal-assisted therapy, pet therapy? It's called one and the same. For several years now, the industry has been trying to coin the term animal-assisted intervention. It's not catching hold. People aren't getting it. They're all saying animal-assisted activity. There really are 2 components to it. The activity end of it is the feel-good. I'm going into the hospice care center. My therapy dog is going around and letting people pet it to try to forget about where they are and what they're dealing with for just a few minutes in time. You're trying to put a smile on somebody's face. You're going into the local hospital and visiting a patient in the hospital just to try to make them feel better. The therapeutic activity is you're working with a professional in the field. We often say medical professional, but when you're working with a reading specialist, they're not a medical specialist, but they're specialists in the field. And that's what our literacy program does. So you're working with that professional in their field to work with the therapy dog and the client, which could be a child, to have an end goal. So if for literacy the goal is you want that child to improve their reading skills by a grade level, if they're reading below where they are, or improve their reading skills to grade level, then that's the goal. And our therapy team is working with the reading specialist or the teacher or the librarian, because every school is different, with the therapy dog to help that child with their reading. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. So the other good example of a therapeutic visit is you've torn your rotator cuff. God forbid, hopefully no one here has done that yet. But if you have, if you're sports and you play sports and you've torn your rotator cuff and you're at physical therapy and the last thing you want to do is this overhead motion, it's very, very painful. I've been there. So you bring in a pet therapy team that's trained to work in a therapeutic capacity. You're with the physical therapist. So instead of them having to, I don't know, do some exercise to raise their arm over their head, you're going to have them throw a ball to the dog.
That's fantastic.
You're getting the same results. You're going to get the same goals, which is increased mobility of that shoulder, but you're just using a different motivation. You're using the dog. Okay, so the benefits of therapy dogs in educational settings, they can motivate. They'd obviously help with the educational component of it. Mental stimulation as well, or tactile stimulation when we're dealing with some of the children that have autism. So that can be something, just that touch can calm them in a way that they can be better focused on what they need to be doing. Psychological benefits, of course, that calming. Recreational activities, you can work with them in a recreational way to teach a child how to interact with the dog. We've had some of our literacy teams out in the English as second language classes, and so they'll have, I don't speak Spanish, so if somebody does, you're welcome to chime in. Ear in Spanish, we'll have the word ear on a cue card, and then the child has to say the word ear in English and point to the ear on the dog. Or we'll count paws, or count claws, or, you know, there's all tail, there's all different ways to use the dog's body, and working with words in English as a second language to help them. So unconditional acceptance. You know, most dogs love everybody, and we'll have a chance and let everybody kind of come up and get a little angel time. Probably don't want a little of that. Okay. So in a healthcare setting, it can help to improve fine motor skills as well as balance. So there again, you have a person with a limb amputation. Let's talk about our veterans. They have to learn to balance using one limb now. They'll have their walker, they'll have a dog there sitting in a chair maybe, and you can cue the person to have to reach out and give the dog a treat. So you're going to work with them to teach them balance and endurance using now only one limb. There's a lot of research that say dogs will lower blood pressure, you know, reduce heart attack, lessen depression, so increase social interaction. All of those things are ways that therapy dogs can be used in a medical setting. So our literacy program, we established it in 2002, and we are part of a program called Intermountain Therapy Animals. They're out of Utah. We're going to hear from that team in a little while because I never like to invent the wheel all over again. The story how we got started is we had an elementary school reading specialist come to us. She had read an article about these dogs reading, going into the schools and the children reading to them out of Salt Lake City, Utah. She said, I want to do this. Our director, Rick, he picked up the phone. He called the Intermountain Therapy Animal. He talked to the director out there, and she said, I can send you all the information I have. He said, how much will it cost us? He said, it'll cost you postage.
Wow.
All I ask you is that you run the program in a similar way, and you reference that you're part of our program. And things got more formalized in the next couple of years, but we are an affiliate member of their program. They call it Reading Education Assistance Dogs, or READ. Cute. So we, in this community, we've served about 1,000 children, give or take some, in different capacities, either in the school or in the library or out at events. And 92% of our children have improved their reading skills. So those are for the children that we're actually tracking those skills. So it's probably 800 of those children that we're tracking those skills on. And tracking means we're working with a reading specialist or a school. When we go into a school, we're signing a contract with the school. We're committing to having at least one team, if not two teams, in the school for the entire school year. We're picking a date and time. Our teams are generally in the school for an hour and a half on a weekly visit, and they'll work with about 6 children. So the child will come in, they'll have a chance to say hello to the dog. They'll sit down with a book. They usually bring their books. If they don't bring their books, our teams have books with them that are age appropriate for the child. Or if the child comes with a book that they're really not able to get through, then they'll have an age appropriate book. This school year, thanks to a grant we received from the Lamprell Foundation, we're going to be arming our literacy teams with ebooks. So we're going to be able to give the children the experience of the e-reader. And each child will read to the dog for about 15 minutes once a week in the school setting. And it's pretty incredible. So, but really, why dogs in school? And at this point, I'm going to let intermountain therapy animals, and that will play. It has a slight play. Yeah, it should play as long as we have sound out here.
We should.
Okay. I'll let them tell you about it because they can say it.
Let's see, volume.
That's fun.
Hello, I'm Fields Mosley, broadcast journalist and board member of Intermountain Therapy Animals of Salt Lake City, Utah. To paraphrase Bill Warriors, every now and then an idea comes along that uses the mundane to reveal the marvelous. I'm here to share with you one of those ideas. In January 2000, Intermountain Therapy Animals brought dogs into a salt.
Yeah.
Is that volume? Oh, hello, it's a knob. We're pressing the screen. I was pressing the screen and it's a knob.
Hello, I'm Fields Mosley, broadcast journalist and board member of Intermountain Therapy Animals of Salt Lake City, Utah. To paraphrase Bill Warriors, every now and then an idea comes along that pierces the mundane to reveal the marvelous. I'm here to share with you one of those ideas. In January of 2000, Intermountain Therapy Animals brought dogs into a Salt Lake City elementary school as reading companions for children. Dogs, you're asking, how could I be serious about that? How can dogs really help? They can't read. No, they can't. But they are great listeners, and that's just one of their many natural abilities. When animals participate in therapy, great things happen. We see it over and over again in healthcare settings. Patients relax and focus better, their blood pressure drops, and they work harder and longer on their goals because they're having fun. Animals are a great catalyst for sparking the desire to heal. So why not bring the benefits of animal interaction to children struggling with reading? A relaxed, fun environment would surely help readers as much as it helps medical patients. Our idea evolved into the literacy program that we call Reading Education Assistance Dogs, known as READ for short. READ brings the benefits of animal interaction to a wide range of children, many struggling with reading and some facing emotional, social, and developmental challenges that hinder their reading progress. The READ program offers a creative approach to overcoming these obstacles. From the moment it was introduced, the READ program has attracted national media attention, with stories appearing in magazines, newspapers, and network newscasts. And the accolades continue to pour in. At Benton Elementary School in Salt Lake City, attendance has proven to be higher on read days because kids don't want to miss their chance to read with the dogs. Here's what a typical after-school session is like from reading specialist Lance Gurton.
Normally we'll have about 3 kids reading with the dogs, and then I'll have 4 or 5 at the table. And I try to get different age groups in there as well. So we try to get each child at least 20 minutes with the dogs. We try to get children that are below grade level on their reading, But then we also try to get children that may be having some behavioral issues that we could support. They really feel like they're a part of the group rather than getting remedial help with their reading. They're excited about coming to the programs. They're talking to me all week long about coming to the program. It's easy to become anonymous in the classroom. That's one of the great things about the dog read program is they have one-on-one time with somebody who can really show that they're interested in their growth as a person and as a reader. They're not just reading for a grade, they're reading for a person. Because of the demeanor of the dog, they're often very much more relaxed than they would be in their normal classrooms.
It creates a safe, warm environment where the kids are petting the dog, petting Maggie, and feeling comfortable with her. Maggie never laughs at mistakes. They want to explain things to Maggie, make sure she understands the story. It creates an environment where kids get to experience the joy of books.
And so we're trying to not only bring up their reading levels, but also to increase their confidence with literature and opening up that whole world of literature to them. It's hearing the children talk about the books that they read. They're actually talking about the meaning behind the books, the lessons in them. And a lot of children have difficulty with expressing themselves and their ideas. They always want to give what the teacher wants to hear. And by just being able to have a more relaxed conversation about the literature that they're reading, it gives them an opportunity to express themselves and develop their communication skills.
Okay, and Yoshi, no, he wants to know, is Lord Voldemort scary, or is he a good guy or a bad guy?
He's a bad guy.
He is a bad guy.
Bad guy, and Kiyoshi was a good listener, and I really liked it when Kiyoshi was kind of wondering about the things in my book. He feels kind of good, like when children read to him, and it makes the children feel good too.
And often you'll see the children rubbing or touching. It's just a very soothing thing.
I've gotten better at my spelling and sounding out and reading.
The improvement that was being made, the difference in self-esteem, the difference in, especially in a school environment where other children would look upon this child as special because they had a read dog, and the confidence it gave. I think that's the biggest thing, the confidence it gave, having an animal to read to.
Some of the benefits we didn't expect were improved attendance and improved hygiene. The kids did better in subjects like math and science. The kids become comfortable reading out loud. They've practiced reading out loud to Maggie, and when the teacher calls on them at school, they're not so intimidated by it because they've practiced with the animals.
By now, you should be convinced of the positive side of inviting animals into schools. Let's take a moment to address some common concerns, though. First, know that animals visiting schools aren't the usual neighborhood dog. Therapy teams are a breed apart. A team is made up of a handler working as a volunteer with her or his own pet. Teams are professionally screened, trained, and tested for animal-assisted therapy. Each animal possesses the skills and temperament to be obedient, well-mannered, and comfortable with children. Each animal is prepared with anti-dander, anti-allergen treatment prior to interaction with the public. Teams wear identifying shirts, bandanas, and badges, and every team is insured for liability, which puts all minds at ease. Handlers receive training on working in a school environment. They learn about working effectively as part of a teaching team and using school staff as a resource. A read program might be just the thing to spark increased interest in reading among your students. It's a creative way to transform the sometimes mundane task of reading aloud into a marvelous experience for everyone involved. It's time for me to wrap this up and hand it over to the people bringing you this presentation. They have a lot more information and are ready to discuss the possibility of starting a read program at your school. You can also contact Intermountain Therapy Animals online or by phone. For Intermountain Therapy Animals, I'm Felix Mosley. Happy reading.
Okay, so let me tell you some stories here, because stories really are what brings it to reality. You saw some of the setups there. The whole idea is that the dog, the child, and the person get as close together. They talked a little bit about how teams are trained. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'll also tell you that our organization goes one step further every one of our therapy teams have a background check on them. And our background check is a national verification that includes sexual offenders. So we're making sure that when we're sending our therapy teams out in the public with our elderly, our ill, our children, that we've provided every possible opportunity we can to ensure that they're appropriate to be out there and the right people that we want out there. Have we ever declined a team? Twice. For background information, not for anything that came up as far as sexual offenses, but for other things like suspended licenses and DWIs and serious things like that. How are they going to get